Us British, we used to have a bit more vitality, imagination, touch of the Dunkirk spirit, know what I mean? The days when Yanks could come over here and buy up Nelson's column and an Harley Street surgeon and a couple of windmill girls are definitely over.
Now look.
Shut up, you long streak of paralysed piss. What I'm looking for is someone who can contribute to what England has given to the world. Culture, sophistication, genius. A little bit more than an hot dog. Know what I mean? We're in the common market now, and my new deal is with Europe. I'm going into partnership with a German organisation. Yeah, the Krauts. They've got ambition, know-how, and they don't lose their bottle. Look at you. The mafia. I've shit 'em.
Hello everyone, this is PK Entertainment and we're back again, and here now we have another video for you in our 10 out of 10 movie review series, and in this edition we will focus on a magnificent British gangster epic, The Long Good Friday. Released on November the 3rd, 1980, it stars Bob Hoskins, Helen Mirren, Paul Freeman, Derek Thompson, and it was directed by John McKenzie. Now the story of The Long Good Friday is that we are set in the present day with gangster crime lord Harold Shand returning to London, looking to expand and legitimise his dominant empire by finalising a deal with American partners by redeveloping the London dockyards. In the beginning everything seems to be going well, but all of a sudden Harold is alerted to one of his associates being killed in a car bomb outside a church. He also discovers that one of his delivery men has been stabbed and killed within a swimming pool. Harold continues to have his businesses hit in a series of coordinated attacks. Enraged and confused, he assigns all of his men to try and discover the culprits behind all of the attacks. The pressure intensifies as Harold tries to resolve the conflict without the Americans finding out so that he can close out the deal. Now when we talk about The Long Good Friday, we are simply looking at the greatest British gangster movie of all time. Superbly made and with a real rawness and intensity about it, the story is absolutely compelling and riveting, as it really plays more as an escalating mystery, as like Harold, you're constantly guessing who is behind all of the attacks within his organisation. And that's always the mark of a great film, where the story keeps you involved and puts you as a viewer in the same perspective as the characters. Now for me personally, the British gangster movie genre has taken a massive regression in the last couple of decades, lacking the poise and seriousness and gravitas of films like The Long Good Friday. Post the impact of Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction in 1994, the British gangster movie has really become more of a cartoon caper, with the characters becoming far more caricatures and having too much of a bright and breezy comic tone about it. There are two ends of the spectrum of this direction. We look at first the Guy Ritchie movies that really are much more of a crowd pleasing comic affair, and then we look at the other side, for example with the likes of the Rise of the Foot Soldier movies that take a far more hardcore approach in terms of the intensity of the violence, but overall it comes across as perhaps too exaggerated and overly too nasty. And both of these type of films really lack the intelligence and master storytelling that The Long Good Friday delivers in spades. Now the movie itself looks absolutely great. There's a real authenticity about the cinematography, and it just feels like you're actually living in a place within the London dockyards. There are times of gruesome violence, yes, but it's not gratuitous or playful, and when it hits, it just adds more urgency and tension to the story. I just look at this movie and there's so much here that's lacking in today's films that I see, and A Long Good Friday is a shining example that hasn't really been surpassed in terms of the British gangster movie. All of the cast members are great, and we'll see many appearances that in smaller roles that's very much a who's who in terms of the parts they play in other classic British series such as The Only Fools and Horses or EastEnders. In the biggest supporting role, Helen Mirren is terrific as Victoria, Harold's wife. She's all sophistication and class and poise, and she's very much stuck in the middle between keeping Harold in check as well as assuring the Americans that everything is okay. She's the only one that can stand up to Harold, and that gives her a certain authority and presence. She also has to fend off all of the advances from his other associates, and this is how you write strong female characters, and Helen Mirren is great, and of course she would go on to become one of the most outstanding actresses over the next couple of decades post this movie. Derek Thompson is also good as Jeff. We all remember him primarily as Charlie from the Casualty series, and in this role he plays Harold's most trusted right hand man and in the beginning he seems very relaxed and collected, but he slowly cracks under the pressure as he clearly knows more than what he lets on. But if we're all being honest here, the reason why this movie works to such greatness is the role of Bob Hoskins, who of course sadly passed away many years ago, and this movie was the beginning of a successful run of roles that he had throughout the 1980s in films such as Mona Lisa and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But it's this performance here that's his towering achievement. As Harold Shand, he's everything. He's fiery, intense, he's egotistical, he's proud, yet there's also a very appealing charisma, and he's extremely funny. Some of the one-liners that he comes up with throughout this film are absolutely hilarious. But this isn't a caricature or a self-parody. This is a vivid, compelling character who clearly has racist and homophobic overtones. We have multiple scenes where we see him remarking negatively on the urban neighbourhoods, yet there somehow remains a likability to Harold as a character. His reactions aren't that of a crazed psychopath. He's not somebody who goes around killing people for no reason. Everything he does really screams of a person who's just as confused as his empire crumbles around him, and all of his reactions really feel natural, which makes him far more of a human and tangible character. Now this type of personality is defined none more so in two absolute brilliant scenes. We have one towards the end of the movie which involves a discussion with Jeff about the causes of all the trouble. It's an absolute brilliant scene that's full of tension all the way through without needing any musical score in order to generate all the suspense. The second, without spoiling, is the film's climax, where without saying a simple word, Hoskins conveys multiple emotions all at once as the music plays throughout the scene. It's simply exceptional acting and a masterful display from Hoskins. And perhaps the biggest compliment I can give towards him throughout this film is that I would put his performance alongside Al Pacino's iconic portrayal as Tony Montana in Scarface. This is a role that I have remarked many times as perhaps the greatest lead performance in a movie that I've ever seen, and I would say that Hoskins' role here can proudly hold its own in comparison. We also have to mention the classic musical score by Francis Mockman. It's a lovely fusion of electronic beats and tones and jazz and saxophones. It is of course defined by the main iconic theme that plays in the beginning of the movie when Harold arrives at the airport. I also love the scene 2/3 of the way through the film where Harold has a shower after a traumatic event and he's very much trying to wash away all of the sins, just bringing up all of the emotional intensity that we see throughout the character. And again, we have to go back to the film's climax, a brilliant ending that we could very much say on the one hand is open-ended, but on the other hand it is very much definitive. And when a film achieves this type of conclusion, it's a true sign of how great the movie is. So when reflecting on the movie's release, it wasn't exactly a big box office blockbuster, but that doesn't really matter here. I think the standard of level of what the movie set for the genre many years post its release is truly what's important here. Now anytime people talk about the modern day British gangster movie in terms of a hyperbolic sense, I always go back to this movie as what the genre really could be, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who hasn't seen it yet. Anytime you remark to me on how good a modern day British gangster movie is, when you watch this film it really will redefine your perspective. So overall, The Long Good Friday is a superb piece of movie making, direction, musical score, a compelling story, and an absolute phenomenal performance from Bob Hoskins, all of which confirm it as without question the greatest British gangster movie of all time, and a 10 out of 10 movie without any question. So those are my overall thoughts and feelings and review of The Long Good Friday. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you disagree with me and you don't believe it's the greatest gangster movie of all time, let me know in the comments what film you think is worthy of that distinction, and we can have further debate and discussion afterwards. If there are any other films of this type or any type that you'd like to see me review on the channel, then drop me a suggestion, and if I've seen that movie I will go on to make a further review and provide commentary on it for you in the future. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay at safe distances, and I will see you very soon.